Good afternoon. We're convening the joint committees on transportation and culture and the arts and economic development and tourism on our 1 p.m. agenda here in State Capitol Conference Room 229. We have 3 measures up today. We'd like to ask folks to limit your testimony so we have time to get through to everybody. Make sure everyone has a chance to testify. So we'll be limiting you to no more than 2 minutes each. Make sure you have your testimony written up and submitted if you haven't done that already. And finally, oh, that is it. All right, let's get started. Up first is HB 450 HD3 relating to the Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism, which transfers the State Foundation on Culture and the Arts to the Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism. And testifying first on HB 450 is the State Foundation on Culture and the Arts.
Hi, Chair Lee, Chair White, members of the committee. I'm Chair Yuval, the Executive Director of the State Foundation for Culture and the Arts, and we stand on our testimony support.
Thank you. Up next is the Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism.
Well, aloha, Chair, and committee members. First of all, for the Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism, we stand on our testimony in support of HB 450 SD3.
Thank you. We have also testimony and support from DAGS, the Hawaii Arts Alliance, and 2 individuals. That's all the testimony that's been submitted. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on HB 450 this afternoon? Seeing none, are there any questions? All right, seeing none. Thank you. Let me turn it over to the Chair of Economic Development and Tourism.
Hi, thank you. Okay, moving on to HB 437 relating to out-of-state offices. First up, Department of Business Economic Development.
We'll have TJ will stand on the testimony, offer comments.
Thank you. Next up, Melody Calasay testifying for Filipino Chamber of Commerce of Hawaii in support. And Randall John Francisco also testifying in support. Anyone else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions?
Yes, questions for DBS, please.
Senator Kim.
Can you introduce yourself?
Mark Ritchie from DBED.
Mark, last time we heard this on the Senate bill, I asked the director about what other offices you had.
Yes.
And he said Beijing and Taiwan.
That's correct.
And that you folks are reevaluating this. Have you folks done that already?
I'm sorry?
That you are reevaluating these offices and whether or not they're going to continue. Did you folks do
To
that?
my knowledge, they're going to continue. We were evaluating one person who was staff in the office in Taiwan, and we'll have a new person doing that for us here shortly.
Okay. So what is going to be the ROI on this office?
I think this office, the reason we're asking comments, we already have good relations with our Beijing office and our Taiwan office, and they help cover China, including Hong Kong, and then Taiwan, a lot of activities. We do a lot with Japan, South Korea. This would be sort of a new country to try to develop trade with. We already have a good basis of businesses in Hawaii that are interested in it, the Chamber of Commerce and things. This would be forward-looking. The ROI would be to try to increase our exports of Hawaii-produced goods to the Philippines. As a developing market, they have growth rates over 6% now, the
But
Philippines.
don't we already do that now? Is that your office?
We do a little bit, but I think we would, if we were to do something like this, we would really then try to develop a more robust program of taking missions over to the Philippines. We bring buyers over, like let's say from Taiwan and things. We would start doing a lot more of that. We could also integrate it into our other export development programs. We have like, $1 million in high
You guys
step
do that already, so I guess in the scheme of things, I'm looking at, and the budget and the way things are going, is this the best use of our funds now? We can take this money, 200,000 and 175,000 on a reoccurring basis. Can't we outreach to these countries and so forth better than having to put and man an office? I mean, I'm just, everything's nice to have.
I
And,
understand,
but
understand.
there's priorities. What are you going to cut in your office budget for this?
Well, I understand your point. This is more forward-looking as a developing country. I have also
Well, there's a lot
statistics.
of
We have less trade with the Philippines than we do with Japan and some of the other
Right,
Asia
but we have a lot
Pacific.
of countries that we could also develop better trade, right?
Yes, yeah, like Vietnam
Right.
might be one.
Right, so are you gonna put an office there?
No, I mean, well, that's not a proposal yet.
Yes, but
Yeah.
I mean, you see what I'm saying? So we're gonna propose all of these?
No, I understand this, when we saw this bill come through, we sort of did our research and things, and this is forward-looking is what I would say. If we really wanted to put an emphasis on trying to develop more trade and things with the Philippines, you can make a case for that, but there's a lot of factors that say, yes, this would be a good thing to do, but can understand when budgets are tight, that, we could try to just do that in our regular programs as well.
Well, don't get me wrong, I mean, I support us having trade with the Philippines and what we can do, but, we have to be managed
Yeah.
fiscally. And I
Yeah.
would look at DBED as being the number one agency to be looking at, how do we manage things fiscally and how do we prioritize? Because everything's nice to have, I mean, we introduced over 1,000 bills, and everybody wants their little project, so we don't have a lot of money to fund them all.
Right. No, I understand.
So I hope that as the head of DBED, that you folks are gonna prioritize these things, because your recommendations is something that we look at.
Right, yeah. I mean, another factor where this probably came up as well is we have 5 sister state relationships in the Philippines. Also, the only other country that we have 5 with is Japan. So there are just a lot of economic ties, and actually just cultural ties and family ties and things that go back and forth between the Philippines and Hawaii. And we were trying to, I think, the person or whoever introduced this bill is trying to play on that and things. But no, I understand your point. Totally
Yeah,
valid.
no, and I certainly appreciate that. I think that we do have a lot of ties, and maybe we need to have ties with places where we don't have a lot of ties, that we need to
No,
develop more
that's
ties.
true.
So you can make that argument
Right.
as well.
Where we sort of have a
Right?
competitive advantage and could be successful and actually increase
So again,
Hawaii's exports.
I would hope DBED would create a plan to tell us which areas would be most viable, most economical, that we're gonna be able to get a good return on our investment, other than looking at, knee-jerk reactions to legislation that pops up from time to time.
Right.
You gotta have a plan.
No, I understand that, and probably the best place for that plan is how we use our federal funds for export development. We actually do target, and it's predominantly Japan. In fact, we have trade shows going on in Japan right now, Food Acts, we have 12, Hawaii companies in there, and we go into many shows in
And we have
Japan.
office in Japan.
We do not have an office
See,
in
we don't
Japan.
have in Japan, so
We have a lot of
by
people that go
time-
back and forth
Yeah.
in Japan and here that are work
But
with them.
again, so, how do you prioritize
Right.
one over there? It's difficult, I don't
Yeah.
wanna say no to the Philippines, I don't wanna say no to the Koreans,
Right.
It puts us in an awkward position, but it needs to be done from a plan of what is most viable.
Strategic.
Right.
Yeah, it needs to be
Thank you.
strategic. No, completely valid.
Thank you. Any other questions? Senator Eno?
Yes. Just to add, some of us recently came and went to Taipei. And Taipei has
Right.
our associations there
Right.
headquartered as well.
Right.
And what was interesting, and I can kind of see it with the Philippines in a sense of what's happening in our country. When we were there in our visits with the Lieutenant Governor as well, discussions was pretty much about China. And we know that China wants to get into Taipei. But they were around during the same time that we were there. It seemed like the government was having discussions and knowing that what China wants to do with Taipei. But what happens is it got us educated, and our relationship with Taipei and Hawaii, and that with regards to the Philippines, and we know what's happening with Philippines and the South Philippines Islands and the ocean around it, where they're in conflict right now with China. And so, it's something that I think, other than tourism, the relationship with us and making sure that we, as part of the United States, support the arrangements or any government relationship that that particular country probably is looking at us as well for some, the activities that has to do with tourism, and the idea that Hawaii will be there for you as well. So I think it's a great idea, but then going forward, then we need to make sure that our committees are brought up to see what your plans are going forward.
No, definitely,
But the
thanks.
relationship, I think, with Hawaii has always been there. My dad came from the Philippines as an immigrant.
Right.
But nonetheless, I think, just being supportive of our Asian countries
Yeah.
in the Pacific, I think is kind of important as
Right.
well.
And since we're deep in, we're always looking at economic angles. Since you were in Taipei, we've had a lot of coffee buyers go back and forth.
And they've already started.
Yes,
and I'm happy
exactly.
you
So
did.
there's a whole.
And part of it,
our
they're
coffee
coming from Kau
growers,
Coffee.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions
you.
for the committee? Seeing none, moving on to HB 1391 relating to trade. First up, Department of Business Economic Development. With comments? 1391, trade.
TCA, will stand up for written testimony, offering comments.
Thank you. Next up, Rita Kimura in opposition, Mary Smart in opposition. Anybody else wishing to testify on this matter? Seeing none, members, any questions?
Oh, questions, so do that again?
Senator Kim.
Similar questions on this one. Why is this needed?
We just offered comments on this one.
Yeah, comments
I-
and support, right?
Ireland is a great country if you're trying to get into the EU, European Union. In
So
fact, a
why
lot
is
of
it
them are.
needed though? Why is this needed?
I would have to talk with the author of the bill, and I'm not that prepared on all the intricacies of what went into this one.
Okay.
That's why we just offered
How many trade
comments.
commissions do we already have, or does DBED already have?
Trade commissions?
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with the terminology, trade
that's the
commission.
termination in.
Yeah, no, that's what it wants to establish. I don't know if we have one.
Well, obviously you don't,
Yeah.
right, so why don't you, I mean, I'm just trying to make sense of this measure and why you
Right.
folks are
I-
up here. As DBED, do you recommend we do a trade commission or don't you? Do you?
We just offered comments. We
Okay, but
didn't
I'm
actually
asking you the-
oppose, but,
I'm
but
asking you a
I
question.
think the intent of this bill was to try to cultivate greater economic ties with Europe and using maybe Ireland as sort of the entry point. That's sort of my take on
So
it.
do we have relationships with Ireland? Do we have sister cities with Ireland?
We do not have any sister state relationships. I'm not familiar with the sister city program. We don't have any sister state
Do you have
relationships.
sister state relationships with any other European country?
No.
No, okay. I'm just, again,
Actually, I'm sorry, Portugal, Azores and Madeira.
Yes,
The
yes,
islands
yes.
kind of out
Yes.
out in the Atlantic,
so
sorry.
why not a trade commission with Portugal? Do you see what I'm
Well,
saying? It's
yes,
like-
no, I
So
understand.
again, I hope you get back to us on your evaluations on the other two in Taiwan and Beijing as far as that was concerned in the last bill. But get back to us, maybe this is a good idea.
Right.
And maybe Ireland is a good idea, I don't know, but
Yeah.
as DBED,
Well, what
you
if-
folks should be doing the research
Right.
and getting back to us.
Yeah, no, definitely will do. We can, we do put out our sister, or, I'm sorry, not sister, we put out a sister state report, but also we do a State of Hawaii's offices and things. So we can definitely send that to you if you're interested. Just shows you how some offices like that work. And then on trade commissions, I don't think we have a lot of experience on how that would work structurally when we use that terminology, as opposed to just a economic relationship or a sister state relationship of some sort.
Well, look forward to getting that report, and I hope the report includes kind of like what our ROI has been and what have been the accomplishments, and not just give us a listing of the offices.
Right, no, understood.
Thank you.
Chair? Yeah.
Senator Inouye.
Yeah, just to add though, this bill creates the commission. And so I'm sure that it'll be very difficult if this is a creation of a trade, and this would probably recognize Senator Kim's questions, do we have a commission or not? But it doesn't seem like we
I
already have
haven't heard of
one.
any trade commission
Yeah.
that sort of operates the way this is structured.
Exactly. And you don't want to compete with President Trump. Let him go back to Ireland. Okay, thank you.
He was just in the
Sorry.
White House, the Irish Prime Minister, I think.
Yes. He said no. Okay.
Hang on, come back, please. Yeah, Mark. So Mark, how hard is it to create one trade commission? What does it entail?
I think it probably just requires some FTE time, but I think you would also we would want private sector input or people to serve on the commission. So it's going to take other people's time, volunteer time. And what I would like to see, normally, like if somebody wants to establish like a sister state relationship of some sort, we have a whole application process. And there's also the validation, okay, is there private sector support for something? Because this has to be kind of more private sector driven, because the government can't be driving this whole thing. Because you're supposed to be trying to create economic ties, and those are private sector
So I'd
ties.
assume like, in this case, so say, would it be Filipino ethnic background, Hawaiian background, Portuguese, that each of those sectors would get involved and participate in the trade commission? Is that kind of what you foresee?
Yeah, if you were doing a trade commission, yes, and also when we're just trying to do economic initiatives, take a mission overseas, you know, we kind of go to the whole Hawaii business community, but some people that already have an affinity and they know the culture and they already have ties there and want to do business there, yeah, those are the types of people we want to recruit.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Okay.
So Chris, is there some kind of a trip to Ireland that we can go on to visit to see?
Not that I'm aware of,
To see
but,
if we need a trade commission?
So we're gonna go straight
I
into
volunteer to
decision
go.
making.
Okay, where are we at? Okay. Chairs having conferred, we're going to go into decision-making on the measures before us. Up first is House Bill 450 HD3 relating to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism. I'd like to recommend moving this forward with amendments, just making one amendment, which is sort of a housekeeping amendment that I'll explain on page 18, line 9, adding notwithstanding any law to the contrary or specific direction by the legislature to that provision. And that's just as an explanation, as we develop works of art and things like that with specific intent for, I think pursuant to the discussion we just had, where there's international collaboration, for example, and we're either gifting work of art as part of a relationship or something, or other things of that nature that can be very sensitive cultural and international relations kind of considerations. So it would allow some direction in those very narrow cases where we need very specific outcomes so we don't blow up the whole world. Other than that, I'll note this has an effective date as it goes on to WAM. So any discussion, any questions? If not, Vice Chair for the vote.
For the Committee on Transportation and Culture and the Arts, the Chair's recommendation on HB 450, House Draft 3, to pass with amendments. Chair Lee.
Aye.
Vice Chair goes aye. Senator Elafante.
Aye.
Senator Kanuha.
Aye.
Senator DeCourt.
Aye.
Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
And then moving on to economic development, tourism. Same request. Members, any questions, discussion? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote, Chair goes aye.
I vote yes. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Awa. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Moving on to HB 1391 relating to trade. Sorry. Moving on to HB 4.
437.
437.
Okay, oh, sorry. Okay, moving on to HB 437, relating to out-of-state offices. We're gonna pass with an SD1 making any necessary technical amendments and a defective date of July 1st, 2050. Discussion. Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote, Chair goes aye.
I vote yes. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Reservations.
Senator Awa.
No.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Committee on Transportation, Culture, and Arts, same recommendation. If there's no discussion, Vice Chair.
For the Committee on Transportation and Culture and the Arts, Chair's recommendation on HB 437, House Draft 1, is to pass with amendments, with 5 members present, any voting with reservations, any no votes.
No vote.
Okay, measure is, yes, measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Then moving on to HB 1391 relating to trade. Well, I think this is a very interesting concept where we create trade and establishing a Hawaii Ireland Trade Commission. I'm gonna move this on for more discussion with an SD1 making any necessary technical amendments and a defective date as of July 1st, 2050. Any discussion? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote, Chair goes aye.
I vote with reservations. Senator Fukunaga. Senator Kim.
Reservations.
Senator Owa. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. For the Committee on Transportation, Culture, and Arts, same recommendation. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Chair's recommendation on this is the Committee on Transportation and Culture and the Arts. Chair's recommendation on HB 1391, House Draft 1, to pass with amendments. Chair Lee.
Aye.
Vice Chair goes aye. Senator Elafante.
Aye.
Senator Kanuha.
Aye.
Senator Decord.
No.
Okay, measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And with that, we're adjourned.
Aloha and welcome to hearing with the Senate Committee on Economic Development and Tourism. Today is March 13, 2025. This is our 1:01 p.m. agenda and we are in conference room 229. The hearing is being streamed live on YouTube. In the unlikely event that we must abruptly end this hearing due to technical difficulties or fire alarms, the committee will reconvene on Tuesday, March 18, 2025 at 1:02 p.m. in conference room 229. This committee has various agendas to get through today, so there will be a 1-minute time limit for our testifiers. Today's agenda includes 2 bills. First on the agenda is HB 534 relating to labeling requirements. First up testifying on behalf of the Department of Land and Natural Resources is Don Cheng.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, committee members. David Sequoia for UNR will stand on our written testimony in support.
Thank you. Next up, Brian Miyamoto, Farm Bureau. In support, Stephanie Sakamoto. Thank you. Next up, Hunter Hevlin. In support, Douglas Perrine. In support, Jenny Yagodich. In support, Andrew Evans. In support, and Uilani Naipo. In support. Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions?
Madam Chair, we had a similar measure, right, Senate bill? Did it pass over?
It went over, but, they having some issues.
Okay, so is there, measures in that bill that we want to adopt in this measure?
No, I think we good with this measure, we need some changes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to HB 650. Moving on to HB 650 relating to sea salt products. First up, Department of Business Economic Development, Director Tokyo.
I will stand up for testimony and support the intent.
Thank you. Next up, Lauren Zerbo, testifying for Hawaii Food Industry Association on Zoom.
She's not available on Zoom, Chair.
Okay, next up, Brian Miyamoto for Hawaii Farm Bureau. In support, Sherman Manoy, Chamber of Commerce. In support, George Joseph on Zoom.
Yes, I do support the bill. We have made tremendous progress with this project, and the FDA consultant feel very optimistic about completing this successfully. And thank you for your support.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions? Debate, quick question. So your testimony has stated that UHCTAR has the expertise to provide the training on colored sea salt. So should they be given the task and money instead of DBED?
If the legislature wanted to do that, I mean, DBED would mostly just be administering the contract with CTAR. Our interest is just to see our sea salt companies to be successful. That's kind of what we want, but this is a technical issue, so yes.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Any other question? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna head straight into decision making. First up, HB 534, relating to labeling requirements. We are gonna pass this with SD1, making any necessary technical amendments and a defective date as of July 1st, 2050. Any discussion? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Chair goes aye.
I vote yes. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Owa. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next up, HB 650, relating to sea salt products. We'll also move this out with SD1 making any necessary technical amendments and a defective date as of July 1st, 2050. Any discussion? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote, Chair votes aye.
I vote yes. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Awa.
No.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, and with that, we are adjourned. Laura, welcome to the hearing with the Senate Committee on Economic Development and Tourism on Commerce and Consumer Protection. Today is March 13, 2025. This is our 1:02 p.m. agenda, and we are in conference room 229. We have one bill on this agenda, so we will go ahead and get started with HB 1308 relating to sports wagering. First up, Nadine Ando for Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committees, Nadine Ando, Director of ECC, and stand on our written testimony in opposition to this measure, and will be available for questions.
Thank you. Next up, Director of Taxation, Gary Suganuma.
All chairs, vice chairs, members of the committees, Winston Wong, Administrative Rules Officer on behalf of the Department of Taxation. The Department of Tax stands on its written testimony providing comments on the measure. I'll be available for any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Next up, Deputy Attorney General.
Good afternoon, Chair DeCoy, Chair Keho'okalo'ole, Vice Chairs and members of the committees. My name is David Williams, Deputy Attorney General from the Criminal Justice Division. The department opposes the bill because it is concerned that legalized gambling in the form of sports wagering and fantasy sports conducted by business corporations or other money-making enterprises on a large scale in Hawaii will increase the risk of adverse social impacts on Hawaii citizens. We've noted in our testimonies the studies that have shown that legalized gambling has resulted in increased negative economic effects on families, including increased credit card debt, reduced credit, increased bankruptcy, especially in families from the most vulnerable economic households. Also noted in our testimony are studies that show an increase in domestic violence related to legalized gambling, as well as negative effects on youth who are exposed to seeing family members gamble or youth who are themselves gambling. The department also is concerned that the bill appears to legalize fantasy sports contests, however, it doesn't include it in the regulatory license taxation or criminal penalty provisions as it does with sports wagering. For those reasons, the department is respectfully opposing the bill, requests that it be deferred. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Next up, Luis Salaveria with comments. Next up, Christine Denton, Department of the Prosecuting Attorney. Switch that shit out.
Good afternoon, Chairs DeCoy, Chairs Keho'okalo'ole, Vice Chairs Wakai, Vice Chair Fukunaga. We stand in opposition. We did the same research apparently the AGs did. I'm not going to repeat all that. It does concern me when you watch pro football now, half the commercials are for gambling. And I'm afraid in a couple of years, we're going to find we have a whole generation of problem gamblers, typically young men. So I think this would just be opening up a Pandora's box, and we would stand in opposition to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Jerome Pacaro, Acting Major, Honolulu Police Department on Zoom.
He's not available on Zoom, Chair.
In opposition, thank you. Next up, Jeremy Limon, testifying for MGM.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, and members of the committee. My name is Jeremy Limoon, Director of Government Affairs representing BetMGM. And I'm also a member of the Sports Wagering Working Group, together with my colleague, Becca London with DraftKings, who I believe is in Zoom. And I believe that our working group will be presenting its findings soon to the legislature. But just wanted to thank everyone on this committee for hearing HB 1308. BetMGM is happy to be here to vocalize our strong support. I have provided your committees with written testimony with information on what HB 1308 would do for revenues, for regulatory compliance, for integrity, And also would invite the committee to take a look at the testimony that our trade coalition, the Sports Betting Alliance, has submitted and provides data points and facts refuting some of the messaging points from the opposition with respect to problem gambling and responsible
Jeremy,
gambling.
can you, your time is up, so we have your written testimony.
Yep, absolutely. And
Thank-
that's it. I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you. Next up, Brandon Makaawa.
Lord Chair, members. The State commissioned a working group to assess sports betting feasibility. This bill moves forward without waiting for this research that this esteemed body requested, and that is irresponsible policymaking. The study should be completed before any action. Sports betting revenue projections do not hold up. The financial promises tied to sports betting are misleading. West Virginia, despite legalizing sports betting in 2019, has only generated just over 20 million in tax revenue. And it's beginning over 5 years ago at the same 10% tax rate that has previously been contemplated. Wyoming, with a small population like Hawaii, brings in just 1.5 million per year. These are not isolated cases. Gaming tax revenue is consistently lower than promised while the costs remain high. Regulation and oversight carry significant costs. Legalizing gaming is not just about revenue, it is about long-term financial responsibility. Regulation, enforcement, and compliance require serious investment. Without a well-structured plan, oversight costs could surpass any financial benefit.
Brandon, you can wrap your testimony.
Yeah,
because we have-
that's about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Next up, Cody Sula, for Iron Workers Stabilization Fund.
Hi, Chair, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. My name is Cody Sula with the Iron Workers Stabilization Fund. We're here in strong support of HB 1308. And we're in support because we are actually support of anything that can help diversify the economy, keep some revenue and money in Hawaii to keep our local families home. There's a lot of issues that come up when people testify regarding sports wagering, but one of the biggest problems that we have is the high cost of living. With the budget cuts coming down from Washington, you know, you guys are looking for areas to keep funding. And we believe that the money with an implemented tax of about 15 to 20% on sports wagering could bring in viable revenue for the state to help programs such as education, infrastructure, and other programs that could help bring relief to our island residents. So when it comes to, I'll wrap up with this, when it comes to sports wagering right now, there's a whole bunch of illegal online gambling happening. And in the words of our managing director, he says that we're keeping the pennies home and watching the dollars fly away. And soon we're gonna lose the pennies. But in this case, when it comes to illegal sports wagering, it's already at zero. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next up, Margaret Maya for Hawaii Christian Coalition. In person, in opposition. Lasmin Shanlin, Hawaii State Commission on the Status of Women, in person.
Hi, yes, me, Jamie, for the Hawaii State Commission on Status of Women. I stand on my written comments and I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Rebecca London, testifying for DraftKings on Zoom.
Good afternoon, chairs and vice chairs, committees on economic development and commerce and consumer protection. My name is Rebecca London. I am a senior government affairs manager for DraftKings. I'm testifying in support of HB 1308 today. You have my complete testimony in written form in front of you, and I stand on my remarks that I submitted, and I welcome any questions that you may have regarding my testimony or anything else that has come up this afternoon. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you. Next up, Les Bornau, testifying for Stop Predatory Gambling on Zoom.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm here to testify very briefly. I submitted extensive written comments for the committee. There's one theme I just want to emphasize with this committee today, that Hawaii is a model for the United States when it comes to predatory gambling, that the state today, the people of this state have experienced better economic mobility out of poverty. You have less wealth inequality. you have more stable families, you have less addiction, you have less domestic violence, you have stronger communities, you have less state budget problems, and you have lower taxes because the state officials over the last 40 years have said no to predatory gambling. The rest of the country, we have a system of taxation by exploitation. And Hawaii is a model for us. And that's, it's something we're very proud of. And the last thing I'll just say, like, no one can point to a state where this has been successful. A vote for online sports gambling is a vote for a lottery. It's a vote for casinos. It's a vote for slot machines across your state. Because once you open the door, you cannot stop it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Christine Otazai on Zoom.
She's not available on Zoom, Chair.
Thank you. Boyd Gaming testifying in opposition. Kathleen Owen in support. Cole Wogelman, National Council on Problem Gambling with comments. Dwayne Bautista. Dwayne.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Dwayne Bautista, and a quick testimony on why I support House Bill 1308. Hawaii needs new money. I was reading the draft 1 and draft 2 of the licensing. In the draft 1 and 2, it said 250,000 for the licensing. Now draft 3, it's blanked out. So right there, it tells me that maybe that number is too small. We're gonna up it. That's new money right off the bat. If we go, even if it was 250,000 times 4 operators or license, that's 1 million of new money, and we never even start the gaming yet. We did talk about West Virginia, 10% at 20 million in 5 years. That's at 10%. Prior testimony said that 10% was too small for Hawaii. Maybe we go 20%. 20%, that's 40 million. That's it within 5 years. 40 million plus the operator's fee. That's another million. We're at 41 million yet, and we didn't even start. That's my testimony. That's the money that we could use to help education. Okay. And, like I said, help out the state with the education and whatever funds that we shortchange on. Thank you, guys. Aloha.
Thank you. Next up, Gregory Misakian on Zoom.
Not available on Zoom, Chair.
In opposition, Brett Kobus also on Zoom.
Good afternoon, chairs. Many members, my name is Brett Colbus, 26-year Navy veteran. I live in Ewa Beach. I strongly oppose HB 1308. While proponents argue the potential economic benefits, the social and community costs far outweigh these benefits. Legalizing sports betting will lead to a surge in gambling addiction as seen in other states. This can devastate families and communities, increasing financial hardship, mental health issues, and raise crime rates. Hawaii has no existing infrastructure to address the rising gambling addiction that this bill would bring. It will turn our islands into a hub of predatory industries that profit at the expenses of our residents. Additionally, most of the profit will flow out of Hawaii to mainland corporations rather than benefiting local communities. DCCA has already expressed concerns about its capacity to regulate this new industry effectively. I urge you to defer HB 1308 and prioritize policies that truly protect and uplift our residents. Mahalo.
Thank you. So we have numerous people in opposition, as well as we have about 8 other people in support. Is there anybody else willing to testify on this measure?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, committee members. My name is Cliff LeBoy. I'm with the Iron Workers Union Stabilization Fund. I'm mostly here on behalf of Hawaii Building and Trade Council. We heard all the testimonies on supporting and non-supporting. We need to bring new money into the state. Unless you guys can tell us what you guys got planned to generate new money in the state, this is the only vehicle we see that we should jump on right away and get it started. Granted, we need to put together a task force and committees to look into the system and see what's out there. But again, I'm here representing 35,000 construction workers, electricians, elevators, operating engineers, plumbers, sheet metals, masons, boiler makers, bricklayers. iron workers, IBEW 1260, and the laborers. They're all trying to see what we can do again to bring new money into the state. That's your jobs. We hope you guys can come up with a solution. If you guys want to kill this bill, show us what you guys got planned to bring new money in the state. We're concerned about losing our construction people. Everybody say construction is the big thing now. Yes, it's the big thing, but construction workers only work 7 months out of the year compared to state workers and city workers.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure?
Aloha, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Moving forward with this bill before the study is complete ignores the process lawmakers put in place. True restitution for Hawaii means making decisions based on sound research, not speculation. Let the working groups work, finish, review their recommendations, and determine the best course of action. So I want to emphasize the study should be completed first. Pushing ahead before the results are in is premature, essentially putting the cart before the horse. And the revenue projections are misleading. The regulation comes out at a cost, which the state and the taxpayer is going to end up doing. For these reasons, I urge the committee to reject HB 1308. While not opposed to gaming, as we believe there is a great plan that can be achieved, let the working group conclude and base decisions on real data, not speculation. 1 year will not make a difference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to testify? Please. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, Chairman, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. I oppose this bill because
Can you please state your name?
I'm Doreen Morimoto, and this is personal testimony.
Thank you.
I oppose this bill because it encourages the wrong kind of entertainment. It starts with fun and games, but leads to gambling addiction. A bet or a wager makes it thrilling, and you end up chasing the money. My husband had an addiction to gambling, and I lived through his struggle and all his pain. After losing all our assets and being depressed, he had to work 3 jobs just to get us out of debt, and his health was compromised. I have heard countless of stories of how gambling destroys lives and tear apart families. The house never loses. Where is the profit or the juice money going? Will you be building rehabilitation facilities and hospital that treats all addictions? Please protect our beautiful state. We don't want to live on Devil's Island. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure?
Chair, on behalf of the Sports Betting Alliance, we have a written testimony in support of the bill.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions? TCA, please.
Yes.
If this passes, how long would it take to implement the regulatory framework?
I actually don't know. I mean, the complexity of what would be involved to stand something like this up. I looked at, one of the things that's required is that we promulgate rules under Chapter 91. And I was looking at one state, for example, where I went and drew up what the rules were that they had put in for just for sports wagering. It was this thick, very, very small print. So there's a lot that's really involved. And I think I don't think anybody here has really set out what would be involved to build something like this from the ground up. Because most of the states where this is legalized have done so through a separate gaming commission or some other kind of separate agency that is charged only with regulating this. And then sports wagering ends up being a component of what the commission may be charged with reviewing, including, for example, casino gambling and other gambling activities. So when we look at something that's isolated like this, and to have to start up the framework to regulate something, this is all online. This is online sports wagering. So we're really not, the idea that we're going to have to be able to find the right people to be able to staff something like this and build it from the ground up is something we review as considerably complex and very expensive. And so in my testimony, what I was trying to point out, there was Boyd Gaming, I think, testified in one of the hearings in front of the House committees. And their particular point was when they look at the idea of revenue generation from this activity, they said many other states in comparable size markets to Hawaii that have passed isolated sports wagering legislation have been disappointed in the outcome. Tax revenues from online sports wagering are often less than anticipated, and revenues are usually not sufficient to fund or sustain regulatory and enforcement oversight and a responsible gaming infrastructure, which are crucial components of any gaming framework. So this tells me, and this is a body that has looked into how this has been done in other states, where this is the only thing that you have for gaming. It just doesn't make economic sense. So I don't know how long it would take. It would take us a lot of time to start researching it and figure out what kind of personnel we're going to have to hire and look for, and what kind of framework has to be done, because we don't currently regulate anything like this.
So under this bill, the sports wagering is not gambling. Is that because of the exemption from gambling provision on page 28 of the bill?
I don't know if, I thought it was meant to be so that it's not considered illegal under the criminal provisions. I mean, so this is the idea, is to basically take it out of what's illegal under the criminal code and basically making it legal. And that's their way of doing it, to say that it's not gambling. But, to say that it's not gambling is really just a misnomer. This is gambling, and it's just done online. Anybody can do this. We talk about how the fact that it's currently ongoing anyway in Hawaii, but just the idea that you legalize something like this is something everybody can have right on their phone. They can have an app that just tells them whenever they want, when they're waiting for a bus, they can just go right in and bet on it. And it's going to increase the number of people who are going to feel like this is something they want to engage in for an activity.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any other
Follow-up questions?
Senator Kim?
So Nadine, you mentioned there are states that have standalone, just sports.
Apparently there are. I mean, I was reading Boyd Gaming's
How
testimony.
many are these?
I don't know.
So you haven't researched it?
I haven't, because when this was originally filed as the regulatory department was with DBED. And I know DBED has been chairing a working group on this matter. So their research may have indicated specifically.
Okay, but then you were preparing for today, obviously. You did your
Yes.
research, you looked up what Boyd said or whoever it is you quoted. So when you did that, you didn't bother to look up how many states had standalone and what it took?
Well, what I remember was from looking at the presentation that DBED did in the working group, and I didn't bring it with me today, but they had specifically slides indicating that I think the testimony is that it's legal in 38 states. And they had broken it down into a number of states where primarily they were in states where they have a separate gaming commission. And there's a specific framework for gaming that's in the state that doesn't put it within a state department or regulatory agency. They have a separate office for that. And when I looked at the types of different structures that had been put through in other states that DBED had found, there were, in all instances, sports wagering was just one component of what the Gaming Commission
No, I
would
understand
do.
that, you said that already in your testimony, but you didn't mention, when you read the quote, that there are other standalones. And so my question was, where are those states and whether or not you researched it as you prepared for today?
I'll be honest with you, I have not looked into which states are isolated, except I looked at Boyd Gaming's testimony and saw that they have done something. Now, I think they submitted testimony before this committee.
Well, I'm asking about,
But I did not.
Okay,
I
'cause if
have
it
to
goes to
be
DBET
perfectly honest,
yes.
I did not do any research for DCCA.
Yeah, so if it goes to DCCA, and then you did say that, there's a lot that go into it, and I agree with you. But there are other states who have done it in standalone, as you mentioned. So I would hope that that's something that you would at least look into in case with the questions. And that is something that, because this is probably not going to go away, whether this passes today or not, it's not going to go away. So I think that you need to come prepared with some of this information. And, because we're going to have to find out and ask, what does it take?
Well-
And are we looking at those states that have it standalone and not necessarily looking at the others as to what went on? And whether that's good or bad, that something has to be determined. And I'm asking you to do that, but certainly looking at.
Well,
you
certainly
had to
if
do
this
it.
measure passes, I would certainly look into what states have only an isolated sports wagering program, and then try and find out how they set that up.
Well, I would hope you would do that.
certainly do that, yes.
I hope you would do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Senator Wakai.
For the Attorney General's office. Your testimony alludes to your anticipation that crime is going to spike if we go down this route. But we already have a lot of crime going on in gambling houses. There's, I think, HPD Narco Vice says that they estimate there's 60 gambling houses just on Oahu that function every night, pull in like $10,000 in action. We read about it in the paper where there's stabbings, there's shootings, there's a lot of violence already associated with gambling, right? So it's not as if we're starting with zero, that somehow this is going to introduce some kind of organized crime and violent behavior. It's already here.
That's correct, Senator.
And then earlier, the woman mentioned how her husband was addicted to gambling and it ruined their families. And are you aware of any gambling addiction intervention program in the state to help people like her husband?
I am not, Senator.
Right, so this bill actually funds a program to address those who suffer from gambling addiction. I mean, we have some high-profile cases where we saw how gambling addiction ruined people's families, right? That Mililani Athletics director stole $400,000 from the athletic boosters to pay off his gambling addiction. There was no services whatsoever to help him and others in similar situations. So this bill actually will help the fact that we do have a gambling problem that already exists in Hawaii without sports gambling, and this will pay for programs to help those who are already suffering from that type of addiction, correct?
Yes, Senator, I'll agree that the bill does propose carving out that, but the concern is the studies that we did cite is specific to sports wagering online. And it's going to open the Pandora's box. Whoever's illegally gambling now versus if this bill passes and anyone can do it now on the convenience of their phone, is a huge difference between the two. So that's our concern.
But those who are opponents to any type of wagering here act as if like Hawaii, we're starting from zero and we're introducing those things. I mean, people we know are, you could change the VPN on your phone to like I'm in Nigeria and I made the bet out of that state, or not that state, that country, or another state, for example. So we're just going to legitimize it, legalize it, and have the opportunity to tax it. Those who unfortunately get into trouble because of sports wagering legally or legally can have resources and social services in Hawaii that just don't exist. And it just baffles me how the folks that are anti every kind of gambling think that there's nothing going on here. I mean, we all know that that's Hawaii's favorite destination is Las Vegas. And I mentioned we have gambling houses in our community. We're not starting from zero. There's already prevalence of gambling here. And I think this bill addresses that, and I think provides resources to help those who unfortunately fall into addiction.
Understood, Senator.
Thank you.
Can I follow up on one thing you said?
Yeah, Senator Kim.
Okay, I don't know how many people here play games on your phones, but I know when I play games on the phone, it always pops up that I can play bingo and I can win money. I mean, or I can play solitaire and win money. So, I mean, So I'm not sure what your response is, but it's already there. And I'm sure a lot of people are doing it already. It's so easy. And it looks like they're just playing a game of solitaire, but they're gambling, right? Is that considered illegal gambling? Solitaire games?
I don't know, Senator. I'm not aware of, I haven't run into those types of apps personally, so I can't speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to access it. It comes up and it just says, press this button and you can play and win money and they guarantee you, your first $50 and stuff, so. I mean, you're testifying that it's gonna be so easy. I'm just, maybe you need to get educated as to how easy it is already. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Okay, well, I'm going to go straight into decision-making. I can appreciate the testimony, the concerns. It's all around us. And, we have a problem with regulating a lot of the stuff, I believe, in this state. And I think we can only help it if we address the concerns head-on. I appreciate the fact of the testimony on both sides. And I'm going to move into decision-making right now. HB 1308 relating to sports wagering. I want to make sure we have a good conversation going forward. I'm going to move this, so maybe DCCA can do a little bit more homework as it moves on down. Can do a comparison on other areas of where this will take us. Maybe it might not be the right fit at the end of the day, but the conversation should be had and we should be addressing this up front. So I'm going to pass this with an ST1 by replacing DCCA with DBED, since DCCA has stated that it may not be suited to regulate this operation. The Senate Bill SB 1561 also had DBED as a regulatory body, modified the definition of qualified gaming operator on page 4, so a Hawaii-based operator can also be included in the future. And on page 8, 5 include Hawaii or another U.S. jurisdiction and make any necessary technical amendments. Incorporate in the committee report the concerns raised by the testifiers regarding any fiscal and tax matters. Also note the concerns that were raised by DOTAX, DCCA, and BNF. Any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Senator Kim.
Thank you for your recommendation. There are a lot of concerns regarding this measure and not everything's been answered. I know that any Sunday, if you're watching football, almost everybody's betting on the game, whether it's $5, $10, $20. I'm not sure what that constitutes, but almost everybody, I'm sure law enforcement people sitting in this room have betted on games at home as well, with their friends in their offices, all kinds of parlay and 6-5. So it's already there looking in our face. However, I would like to propose that we put an amendment in there that part of the proceeds, a percentage of the proceeds would also go to education, K-12. I think that's something that we all want to see, and I know that if there are profits that come out that's going to benefit the people of Hawaii, that education should be first on the list, and I'm sure there's others. I'm sure there's housing and so forth, but I would like to include that should this matter pass. Thank you.
Thank you, so noted. Any other discussion? Seeing none.
Is that an amendment?
Yep, we will incorporate it as an amendment. Okay, in the discussion, seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote, Chair goes aye.
I vote yes. Senator Fukunaga.
Reservations.
Senator Kim.
Reservations.
Senator Awa. Aye. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
CPN, same recommendation, passing with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair also votes with reservations. Senator McKelvey is excused. Senator Richards.
Reservations.
Senator Awa. Aye. Measure is adopted.
Thank you. And with that, we are adjourned.